Personally, I would not be here if it wasn't for her, so thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate that.
Welcome to Two Beers and a Podcast with Brad and Mike, two marketing guys with a love of great craft beer and the stories that go with them.
I'm Brad Fruhauff, the word guy.
And I'm Mike Rataj, the visual guy.
This show is all about the experience of beer, from the label to the glass, from the brew house to the bar. Each week, we feature two beers that we feel have something to say or that we think we're saying something about.
And today, we're down in Louisville, Kentucky for the Craft Beverage Expo, talking to Executive Director Kelli Shevlin.
Yeah.
Kelli, thanks for taking the time running the show to talk to us.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So what beers are we drinking and why?
I brought some Goodwood beers because 2 years ago when we did our first site inspection to see if we wanted to come to Louisville, I happened to wander into this bar and stayed for like 6 hours. It's probably the coolest brewery around. And not only that, but the owner, Tom, is doing a couple of our sessions. And so he's now a speaker at the event. So to go from wandering into a bar to have him speak at this event is kind of cool.
Yeah, he was at the speaking this morning. So this is the Goodwood Louisville Lager, aged on white ash, touched by wood, brewed
Cheers.
with limestone
Cheers.
water. Yeah. Cheers.
So when did you meet him? How long ago was that?
2 years ago.
2 years
So
ago.
I went on a site visit. The show was always on the West Coast, California, Portland, and we decided that what this part of the country needed was more education, and what the West Coast didn't need was more education. They were perfectly educated back there on alcohol, but we thought it would bring the education here. That's the best thing we've ever done. So then our second year with the show just keeps growing and growing. So I was doing the site visit, trying to evaluate the city, and just all of a sudden I looked up and I see this brewery called Goodwood, and I'm like, okay, I'm going in there. And it was the wooden and the music, and I just stayed the whole day. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's a good story or a bad story.
It's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, they hooked you, right?
So to go from that to stumbling into a bar or stumbling into a brewery and then having, the owner speak twice today just seems like a really nice story.
Right. It's a good arc of
Yes.
not knowing anyone and then all of a sudden they're one of your presenters and
Yeah.
they're helping out.
Yeah.
Cool. So how did the Craft Beverage Expo get started?
So 6 years ago, I wanted to come up with an event in the B2B vision. I did trade shows. Trade shows are kind of what I came up from. But then I started working on a show called the Metropolitan Cooking and Entertaining Show. And what I found is I really enjoyed working with the people in the wine, beer, and spirits area. Like those are the passionate people. They were the most fun people. Like they were just the people that I was liking to hang out with. And I was thinking, how do I start an event that is germane to the audience, that they need something, but still get to be in this space and work with independent producers. So it evolved over the last several years, but one thing that we would realize is that distribution is a problem across the board, no matter what. No one actually needs to come and get another steel tank, but they do need to figure out how to distribute their product, path to market, how to literally put something in consumer's hand.
Right.
So that was the genesis of this event, trying to create an education program that will teach an independent producer how to literally put something in a producer's hand or a consumer's hand.
Right. So that was because I was always curious about thinking like you have CBC's been in place for a while, right? And that's huge. And so then it's like when you come in with Craft Beverage Expo, figuring out what's the differentiator, right? Like how are you? So your angle has been let's focus on. Seems like you said I think at the beginning of yesterday's session something to the effect of like it's like once it's made, how do you get it out there, right?
So once it's in a tanker barrel. So all the other associations, CBC, ADI, all of the other association shows start with the process, the fermentation, the fruit, the grain, the water. We start once it's in a tanker barrel, now what? How do you get it packaged? What's the best way to do that? I was walking at the Unified Wine Show when we were doing some due diligence for the show. I was walking and I met a label maker and I was like, well, we're thinking about starting the show. What do you think? He says, he said, I'd rather hit myself in the head with a hammer than put my printing press on for less than 50,000 cases. And so, I mean, this group, they're small independent people. So every session that they get is going to be tailored to the size of their enterprise, and then every company that I have inside the exhibit hall wants to sell to them.
Right. Right. So talk to us. Go ahead. And
Here we go.
This is I'm enjoying this. This is really like it's clean. It's got a lot of grainy character. No, this is nice.
Yeah, very smooth. I like the white ash.
Well, we've had several like Christmas and barrel aged beers the last couple days, even as we've been kind of checking out the town, and once in a while going back to a nice clean lager is still so refreshing, right? Like
Yeah.
It is. But this stout's good too. I enjoy this one a lot.
Well, you keep working on that. 'Cause
I'm going. I'm going.
So I was in Portland, and this must be your last year out that way.
Correct.
2 years ago, and it's clear that things have evolved and grown since then. You talk about what you did. It sounds like you said a little bit already, but yeah, what are some of the key things you've done to get it to where it's at, and how are you looking to keep growing it?
I would say probably the biggest change is the distribution. We did actually rename the conference the Craft Beverage Distribution Conference because that's what we were the whole time, but people didn't realize that. So,
Right.
why would I go to the Craft Beverage Expo? Like, you don't go to the Craft Beverage Expo, but we can tell you exactly why you would go to the Craft Beverage Distribution
Right.
Conference.
Okay.
So that was key. Also, we've done a lot more grassroots marketing. We get out here a lot, walk around, meet the people. And then this year we've added the Women in Craft Forum, which is going to be tomorrow, and we're super excited about that. We've got 50 women in craft that are going to come. It's all day. Rhonda Kalman from Boston Harbor Distillery is one of our keynoters. We've got Deborah Bruner from Women of Wine and Spirits. So we keep adding these little niche events that bring in a really core group of people that are interested in that education. Like as I said earlier, you can't throw a rock in California or Portland and not hit somebody that teaches a wine class or a beer class. It's just there. It's just part of their. But here, it's not
Right.
as
Prevalent. Yeah.
Thank you. The beer.
Yeah. That's what we do. That's what we help.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Right. We make it harder to talk the more we talk.
Yeah. It's our test.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the, what were the sessions, some of the sessions you were most excited to get, or maybe are newer for this year? Or?
So the two that I was really excited about were the collaboration ones that we did this morning, and we added cannabis this afternoon. So what I like about that is we're not telling people that they need to add cannabis to their product, but we're saying, okay, you are as a craft producer, how is the cannabis market going to affect you? So whether you want to infuse your beverages with or without it, this is coming. It's legal in all these states. You've got to be aware of it because as millennials are aging up, they're choosing other things to have fun with.
Right.
And so the wine and beer and distilled spirits markets are dropping, and the CBD markets considerably going up.
Right.
So we want people to be aware of it, that this is, how do I combat this? What do we need to do?
Yeah. And I know we met people on the floor today who were in the
CBD extractors,
extraction, yeah. So they're here to kind of see what's this craft beverage industry look like right now, and who might be some partners. And
Yeah. So we partnered with Marijuana Business Daily.
Oh, I saw
So
that.
they're so that's new as well. So we're getting some good media partners, and we're trying to really learn about the space and really how it affects the craft producer.
Yeah, cool.
So that kind of hints on.
I was going to try to knock these down.
Try and knock it? Okay.
Yeah, but we gave you a little bit
You
much
gave me-
there. Yeah.
But
Yeah, you gave me a little bit too much.
Yeah. So we're
I was thinking we were doing the both, so then I was like, oh, let's give her a lot.
No,
and then
we
I was
got to
like,
get through 2 in
yeah,
20 minutes.
20. No.
Okay. Here I go.
Okay, there you go.
Bottoms up.
That's nice.
Someone want to help me out with that? Come on.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, it was a lot.
That was a lot. No.
I feel like I did well.
Yeah.
It's symbolic. You don't have to.
Yeah. If we had other glasses, we would just replace them. Just like forget about it.
That.
Okay.
Okay. This is a bourbon barrel stout.
So do you like barrel-aged beers?
I do.
or-
I love barrel-aged beers. I like the funkier stuff. I love sours. I love
Yeah.
anything with the bready, yeasty, crazy stuff. I love all those wild strains. And I like a classic beer too, but I like a funky beer.
Oh, yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that smells great.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
This is what I drank when I was over there the last time.
This is what gotcha.
Yeah,
Curious, I'm gonna
it's
check
so
it out.
good.
I don't know if it's the
I
beer,
think
but
it's
I'm in love with
8%.
you.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So this, because he was saying he used to be at BBC, and we were there the other night, and their barrel stout is like 8.1, I think, which is interesting because most of them started like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this,
It's good. It's smooth. It's got a great flavor. I mean, I just absolutely love this beer.
yeah, it's great. No, it's just.
How would you feel that the event has evolved for you? Like, what did you go in with a certain agenda, and then you've seen it evolve to distribution, or what was that like?
So, what's interesting about this event is it's when you start trade shows, there are 4 questions to ask when you start a trade show. Question 1, is there a need on the audience side? And if their answer is yes, is the need big enough to have a show? Then the third question is there a need on the exhibitor side? And if so, is there an audience big enough to support the show? With this event, because all the exhibitors would love to have one event where they sell to beer, wine, and spirits, they love the idea. So we sold the floor way quicker than we sold the concept of craft beverage. When I started, and I'm not, the words craft beverage were not together. Here's my claim to fame. I put them together. I own them on Google. I own craftbeverage.com. Those words did not exist in 2012.
That's a big
So, yeah. So, and I keep getting these GoDaddy. Do you want to sell craftbeverage.com? I say, no, I do not. No, I do not. I'm Craft Beverage on Facebook. I'm Craft Beverage on Instagram. I'm Craft Beverage on Twitter. I mean,
That's good work.
Exist 6 years ago. So I feel like our show came a little bit too early because everything was so vertical. You had the beer, you had the wine, you had the spirits, and they were all either run by an association or a magazine. And so I'm coming in saying, let's all like hang out and you know be friends for 3 days.
String together.
And people don't get it. Like they're like, well,
Somebody
why am I
else's.
going to be there? And so one of my favorite stories, one of the distillers told me a couple years ago. He said, look, this is where we're at right now. This is the family of beverage. You've got your asshole dad, who's 70 years old and he's trying to figure out how he's going to retire. That's the wine industry. Okay, he's set in his ways. He's not making any more decisions. He's like, that's it. And then he's got his son who's 35 years old. He's like thinking about the next generation. He's had some success. He hasn't had all that success, but he's had a lot of success.
Yeah.
And then you've got the 10-year-old asshole distiller,
Yeah.
who's like, I know everything. You can't tell me anything.
Right.
I'm perfect in this industry. And then you've got your infants, which are the mead and the cider, and they're just coming up. And he says that's the family tree of beverage right now, and that's how each industry sort of operates on its own.
Yeah.
So trying to tell a winemaker that they're going to learn something from a brewer, or a brewer that they're going to learn something from a distiller was a lot harder than I thought it would be. It was a lot harder. It's taken this many years for people to understand that they have a lot more in common than they don't.
Yeah, well, and then that collaborations panel becomes more important, right? Because they're talking about all the ways they work with not only distillers and wineries, and they're trading barrels and all this, but then they're talking about food and events and locations, and so they're just saying like everybody up there was saying like you don't have to work only in your niche, only in your vertical.
Well, and I would say, take it even further, that you're not going to be successful if you're only working in your vertical now. And that was not the case 7-8 years ago. I mean, it was so vertical, but now you need these collaborations. You need to be producing things that people, like consumers, are excited about. What is there? When I started this, I think there was 7,000 wineries. There was 3,000 breweries and 800 distilled spirits companies out there, and now it like tripled. It's tripled. So the consumer, it's the best time in the whole history of the world to drink. There is more good alcohol than ever in the history of the world, and it can be whatever you want. And so the consumer has a choice now. They're educated between the internet and between being passionate about it. Like they're not defaulting to a bad thing. So if you're not making a product that a consumer can get in front of, why are you here? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
You kind of touched on it a bit, but how do you know So who exactly is your audience for the attendees?
So my audience are independent craft producers of beer, wine, spirit, cider, sake, mead, anybody that needs that path to market. So if you look at the Brewers Association idea of what a craft brewer is, it's 6 million barrels, but we're way down there. You know, we want people that
Interesting.
wherever you are now, whatever that next tier is. So if you're making something in your home and you want to go from home to a brewery, if you're at a brewery now and you want to start going from, just selling in your tap room to selling outside into the city, we'll be there for that. If you're in the city and you want to get distributed, we're going to be there for that. So whenever you're ready for the next step, that's when you come to our show and figure out what that next step looks like for you.
Right. Okay.
So it's a big education push for those, for
It's
the
a
earlier
massive
people.
education
Yeah.
push. This whole thing exists because of the education.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here without it. Like that's the whole reason we're going to do it, because this industry is pretty tight, and you have to have some authenticity, or you're not going to make it.
Right.
Like, so if we didn't actually passionately believe in the education that we're giving, it would show, and people wouldn't
Right.
come.
Yeah.
But I do believe that if people come to this event, they're going to learn something. They're going to make money. That whatever investment they make here, they're going to get it back in their winery, brewery, or distillery.
Well, certainly, yeah. Like last time out, and then this time too. Like the quality of the speakers and the panels stands out. Like it's like there's people with lots of experience, lots of knowledge. They're very candid and open, and then so yeah. I guess I'm curious too. Like, is this something we have a lot of repeat attendees? Like, I'm trying to think. Like, there's some themes that were similar to last time I was here in some of the speakers, which makes sense because some of the themes are just things people need to hear. But like, there's a lot of new people here, I think, too.
Yeah.
But is that what it built into the concept that it'll be a fair amount of turnover, and maybe it'll be 2 or 3 years in between your visits because maybe it takes that long to get to the next step?
And there's a little bit of that,
Okay.
for sure. And it's interesting because the last time Tom Flanagan spoke was Portland, and it's
Yeah.
a coincidence that he was here today because he didn't come last year or the year before. But we have some people that come every year because they like the education, they like the camaraderie, they like to walk the floor. But in terms of recycling the education, it's different. It is different every year, although marketing is marketing. So, sales is sales. We may change the topic up, but you're still going to get what that core is. Like today, what's your why? At the end of the day, every good marketing session should be, what's your why? Why are you doing this? If you can't answer that question, then you can't market.
Right. So then how, it's basically the same question, but for the exhibitors. So like, how do you see them? I guess we kind of know what the audience is, exhibitors that are looking for early people in the.
That's exactly why they're here.
Well, and then you said it's interesting that there are people who it's opportunity to sell to all the categories in one place.
Yes.
Instead of having to go to all the different shows.
And they love it because there's so many shows. Like that's the one.
Yeah.
Like my exhibitors are like, please let this get huge because I would love to cut half the shows that I do.
Yeah, right.
Because
very
in the
nice.
wine industry, there is a wine trade show for every varietal, for every state, for every region, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
there are some people that do 50 wine trade shows a year.
It's their job is to
Yeah,
do shows.
yeah. The beer is different because
Yeah.
the Brewers Association is the gold standard. They're amazing. So that's the big show that you do. But now even in spirits, there's half a dozen spirit shows.
So how do you get big?
How do I get big? I get more attendees,
Yeah,
that want to come. So we're different from other shows is we do have an expo only. So even if you don't want to pay
Right.
for the full conference, you can still, as a producer, get a free badge and walk our floor, which has really been great this last 2 days. I would say that was the difference in the last couple of years is we've had some really good expo only traffic this week. So, and our exhibitors are happy.
Good.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing. Well, you want both of them to be happy, the
You need-
attendees
yes.
and the exhibitors, otherwise.
The exhibitors pay the bills. They're subsidizing this whole thing.
So they need to be happiest.
They need to be happiest, yes.
Well, that telling statement about them hoping to cancel or hoping you to get big enough so they
can just
just come here and get it all
correct.
taken care of.
Yeah,
That's a nice vote of confidence.
They could be 4 shows to go to. And I do say to the attendees, every attendee, I'm like, go to your industry event first. If you're a brewer, you go to CBC, for sure. We want to be your second event. If you're a winemaker, go to Unified, but we want to be your second event.
Yeah.
So we are a big supporter of the industry. And we do, and the reason why I think the beer industry is so strong is because Craft Brewers Association is so strong. So we
Right.
support all of that, but we want to be your second show.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then, we kind of got close to it. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I guess like the other question is having to go back to what a successful show looks like and how everybody's happy. What are the things you're doing to keep the exhibitors happy, to make sure that the attendees are happy?
So we do switch up the education. We do bring in some pretty good speakers. So that generally will keep, if people want to go year after year, they are going to see mostly different speakers each year. The free expo only for producers has been a big hit. Everybody, you can, because there's so much beverage even in this area, you can go down the street, walk the floor, pick up a contract for some corks and then leave. So we've made it really easy on that end as well. But we're also adding like tomorrow is Retail Day. So we're really proud of Retail Day. We started it last year. Last year we had Eli Aguilar from Total Wine who came in and said, this is how you go to Total Wine. Tomorrow we've got Liquor Barn, saying this is how you get into Liquor Barn. So and it's all retail.
That's very valuable.
That's exactly it, and that's exactly what you basically wrote on the board. This is how you do it. Here is my card. So we're going to talk on premise, off premise. You know, we've got some bartenders explaining to them why I choose this, why I'm not, what goes into my mindset when I make a cocktail. So that's tomorrow's different. Tomorrow, so we have Retail Day tomorrow, and we have the Women in Craft Forum.
Right.
So by adding these programs, we're just adding a ton of value.
Right.
So and next year, if we have Costco and Whole Foods, then we'll have 1,000 people here.
Right.
Yeah.
How to get into
That's
Costco.
the plan.
That's how you get big. There you go. Yeah, get Costco to show up.
Yeah.
Tell how to get in
Awesome.
there.
All right.
I didn't take it.
I think we're
Good?
Yeah.
About half hour?
Let's
Awesome.
Cheers.
good talk. Thank you for
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
See, this is so good. I just love this one.
It's like it's over. I don't want to say it's overpowering at first, but it really is mellow. Like the more you get into it, it's still not like a bit of a bite. It's still
it's
just
a little
like,
sweet
okay.
up front, but then
Yeah.
then the roasted stout character comes out.
That is barrel aged.
Nice.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank
Can't
you.
wait to see it.
Appreciate it.
And I'm glad you're here. If you need anything, let me know. And
That wraps up this episode. You've been listening to Two Beers and a Podcast with Brad and Mike.
If you like what you heard, be sure to do the liking, subscribing, and rating. If you have an idea for a topic, a pairing, or a brewery we should talk to, message at 2beerspod on Twitter or Instagram. And if you want to learn more about our video, web, and social media marketing services, visit twobeersinapodcast.com or email 2beerspod@gmail.com. That's the number 2beerspod@gmail.com.
Until next time, keep telling stories. Here's to beer worth sharing.